Hi, my name is Alexa Sand, and I'm the Associate Vice President for Research at Utah State University, responsible for our Lively Undergraduate Research Program. I'm here to talk to you a little bit about some of the opportunities for you as a faculty mentor in getting involved in undergraduate research. USU has the second oldest undergraduate research program in the country. We started out in 1975 with a pilot program to fund unique projects by students from across the disciplines. We define undergraduate research really broadly as a mentored inquiry or investigation conducted by an undergraduate student that makes an intellectual or creative contribution to the discipline. The really important word here is mentored, because without mentors, students tend to wander around doing great stuff, but not really accomplishing much and not really getting the learning that they need to get out of their introductory research experiences. So that's where you come into the picture. Students benefit enormously from participating in undergraduate research, no matter what their level is and no matter what discipline. Studies over the past 25 to 30 years have shown that undergraduate research enhances student learning, partly through these relationships that it builds between students and faculty members. It increases retention and graduation in academic programs, and this is particularly true of students who enter somewhat at risk of dropping out or failing out. It increases enrollment in graduate programs, and it helps students get jobs. It basically provides them with a quiver of skills and experiences that they can point to when they are putting themselves out there in the market for graduate programs or employers. As we all know, research involves us deeply in creative and critical thinking, so it's these skills that really students bring forward when they participate in undergraduate research. It also creates a more scientifically literate society, and this doesn't matter whether the research that the students are participating in is scientific or not. It just develops an understanding of the sort of processes and the critical thinking that are so central to understanding just basic science as it's out there and affecting our reality. And of course, it promotes innovation. I mean, students are young, they're full of ideas, they're often more up to date on the latest sort of technologies than older researchers might be. And so they really participate in a kind of innovation-oriented culture. When we survey students about their experiences as undergraduate researchers, and we see this extremely high importance of the mentor. So this is a Wordle based on students' reflections on their experiences in our various undergraduate research programs here at Utah State. And you notice that the word mentor jumps out to the front. This is not because we cued them to talk about their mentor, they just do, because the mentor's role is so important in shaping that experience for them. Therefore, we like to support mentors as well as students in our programs. And so we have a number of opportunities and resources that we put out there. We can support your promotion and tenure process through letters of support. We can provide you with some training and resources. In fact, we're about to launch our Lib Guide in coordination with the library, and that should have a ton of resources that you can easily access. We can help put you in touch with student researchers. If you have a project and you're looking for students, we can help you reach out to them, and vice versa. If we have students who are looking for mentors, we may reach out to you. We recognize excellence in undergraduate research mentoring through a prize every year, the Peak Undergraduate Research Mentor of the Year. It's a cash prize, but it's also a fairly prestigious award to receive. And we have a council of faculty members who advise us and help steer our energy in terms of how we support undergraduate research. That's URAB, or the Undergraduate Research Advisory Board. It's also a great way to sort of develop your own leadership in this area of undergraduate research mentoring. And we provide a lot of funding for students as long as they're working closely with a mentor. So in the tenure and promotion category, in University Policy 405.2, under teaching, we mention that evidence of mentoring inside and outside the classroom, including work with graduate or undergraduate researchers, is part of the evidence that can be used, or the documentation that can be used to support your case for promotion and or tenure. And one of the things we'll do is provide you with a letter upon your request to include in your file. We can also provide you with letters that talk about your activities and your engagement in institution-wide initiatives for undergraduate research for, say, an NIH or NSF grant, where often those broader impacts are really important. You can also use your activities as an undergraduate research mentor to earn ETE credit towards your ETE badges, and that's something to keep in mind since those help support the case that you are an excellent teacher. And I did mention the University-wide Mentoring Award, but each of the colleges also nominates annually in a Undergraduate Research Mentor of the Year. And sometimes we have little prizes and giveaways. That's what the photograph shows. One of our new faculty members a couple years ago getting her free copy of How to Get Started in Undergraduate Research, a publication of the Council on Undergraduate Research that we will occasionally give away as a sort of incentive. So if you want to connect to a student, you're a faculty member, if you want to connect to a student, we have a button on our website under faculty mentors, find an undergraduate researcher, and it will basically just fill out a form, alert us that you're looking for students, and we will then reach out to specific targeted students, but we'll also, if you so desire, broadly broadcast your request on our website and through our biweekly emails. Also, if you have a student that you think would be a great researcher, but you don't have a current opportunity for them, you can let us know about that through the Student of Note request, also on our website. Every year, we award this Undergraduate Research Mentor of the Year prize, and here's a picture of Scott Bates, who was my predecessor in this position, making the award to Crescencio Lopez, and you can see that he is extremely surprised and delighted to have won this award. The award winner receives a $500 prize from us, and usually the award winner at the college level receives a $500 prize, and then there's an additional $500 for the overall winner. Most people also get an additional recognition from their college, but I can't promise you that. The advisory board consists of faculty members who've been elected to or nominated by their college deans to the board for a 3-year term. We also have non-voting representatives from various student service and academic support units. We have a number of undergraduate students who serve for a year. They're also nominated by college deans. And you can go on our website to see who your representative is right now. They'll often have the most up-to-date information about initiatives out of our office. In addition to these supports for faculty, we have a ton of resources for students, funding resources, and also sort of connections to various different events and opportunities outside the university. Among our funding opportunities is the Undergraduate Research Travel Award, which for the period of time that we're under travel restrictions from COVID-19 is a conference registration award. So a lot of virtual conferences have very high registration fees, and we can help students out with that. But in ordinary time, we actually help students pay for travel. These are matching funds, so we request a dollar for dollar match from another source. That could be honors, that could be your research grant money, that could be just about anything that doesn't originate from the Office of Research. We also have a triannual competition for the Undergraduate Research and Creative Opportunities Grant, which you'll hear called URCO. So URCO is the program that started in 1975. It supports independent projects by students working with a mentor. So it has two pieces. One is a scholarship from our office, and then with $250 from a matching source. And that will support up to 4 students. The scholarship is $1,000 for an individual student or $500 for students in a group, so 2 to 4 students. And then there's additional funding for research expenses, and that's pretty much everything except conference travel is allocable to this grant. So it's a very generous award for the student. We've seen excellent outcomes from the projects funded by these URCO grants. And one thing to note is that even for students who aren't funded in their first attempt or even their second attempt, the value of participating in this process of proposal writing and submission and then getting feedback from reviewers is so valuable. Students really mature in their ideas about their research and learn to communicate that research much better through this process of applying for the URCO. We're also always interested in faculty members who would like to serve as URCO reviewers. So if you would like to do that, all you have to do is contact our office and let us know. Another opportunity that we supply to students is a 3 to 4 year scholarship that involves them in what we call the Undergraduate Research Fellows program. Undergraduate Research Fellows are students who are interested in being very much involved in research from the day they step on campus or join the program until graduation. Now, that doesn't mean they always have to be working with the same mentor. It doesn't mean they even have to stay in the same major. They can explore different areas of research. The whole idea here is to really encourage those students who have a kind of passion for investigation, for independent learning, to have the support they need to get out there, meet faculty members, experiment with different areas of research, and just gain that experience. So our undergraduate research fellows are recruited every spring from entering freshmen and rising sophomores, or people who have 6 or more semesters left of school. And we basically create this cohort, and the students all know each other. They think of each other as a kind of research family. They do a lot of work together. And so it's more than just a scholarship. There is a $1,000 a year award attached to it. But it's really a wonderful and diverse group of students from across all the disciplines, sort of creating this microclimate of research engagement. There are also a very large number of college funding opportunities, and I've listed just some of these here. And I would encourage you to talk to your college administrators and senior faculty about some of these programs and how you can encourage students to get involved in them, and how you as a faculty member can also grow through engagement with these programs. We highly encourage faculty members and students to be aware of the NSF REU programs. And before you think this is all about laboratory scientists, remember that the NSF has quite a number of different areas in which it operates, including the social sciences and education. So keep that in mind and don't necessarily assume that your field isn't included in these programs. So these are research experiences for undergraduates. There are 2 different ways that faculty can get involved in this. You can propose an REU site, which is a summer 10-week program with a emphasis on bringing students from other campuses here to USU. So if you have a graduate program, this is a great way to identify and attract potential future graduate students. These programs are intensively focused on usually one area of research, and all of the students participate in that same research project. REU supplements, if you already have an NSF grant, this is a great way to get some summer support from an undergraduate researcher and also to train a student in your lab or field group. The best way to apply for these is to work with the research development specialist for your college, and that due date obviously reflects 2020, but the due dates are usually in late August of the year prior to the summer when you are hoping to hold the REU site. I also think it's a really good idea to explore with your students and advisees the sites that are available across the 19 NSF directorates. And there's an online guide to these, and the dates usually vary for application. Of course, in the summer of 2020, a lot of these were canceled or went online, but we're hoping to see the program pick back up in 2021. Internally, we offer students dozens of opportunities to present their work. We have 2 research symposia each year. The dates here are not exactly accurate, but it doesn't matter because they roughly represent when we do them each year. I think it's December 10th this year and maybe April 12th and 13th this year, 2021. And these are events where students from across disciplines at USU present their research in poster sessions, oral sessions, performances, and even visual exhibitions. We are going to be online this year, as you might expect, but we are committed to making those online experiences valuable and interactive. We already have a little bit of experience with this from having pivoted to the online platform in the spring of 2020, and we hope to go back to face-to-face versions of these events in coming years. The great thing about all of these events, whether the college and departmental events that are listed here or the USU-wide events, is that they really allow students to see and be inspired by what other students are doing. And there's just such an incredibly convivial and excited energy that develops around these events. We encourage faculty to think about curricularizing them. That is, making these events part of their syllabus in some way. That could range from having an extra credit assignment attached to attending the event, all the way up to required participation in the event. We don't turn anyone away, so any student who submits an abstract will be presenting. And we are very happy to work with faculty members to create dedicated sessions for your students. The advantage of presenting in such a public format as opposed to just a class presentation is, as I'm sure you've noticed, that students who know that a broader public is going to be viewing their work, that they're going to be interacting with strangers, tend to put a little bit more effort and a little bit more seriousness into the work that they do for their research communications. So if you're teaching a course that has a research component, really think about requiring participation in the fall or spring student research symposium. We also help support student participation in a lot of regional and national events. So for example, these here on the screen, the UCUR is the Utah Conference on Undergraduate Research. Last year, USU hosted this, and we hosted the largest version of the event ever, and I have to say the best I've ever been to. This year it'll be online, but BYU is hosting, and they're going to do a great job. They're already well ahead of the ball on that. The National Conference on Undergraduate Research likewise will take place online this year, and both of these events are currently open. So if you have students who have research that will be in train to be presented at either of these events, you should encourage them to apply because the deadlines come up in mid-October to early November for those. So take a look at those and think about having students participate. It's almost guaranteed to be less expensive this year than any other year because we don't have to travel to go to them. We also organize an annual event with the University of Utah at the Capitol Rotunda in uh, Salt Lake City, where students come and show their research to legislators, staffers, lobbyists, and the general public. We don't know what that will look like in 2021, but we are working on that, and that will probably be happening. Posters on the Hill. This is the same type of event, only at the Capitol Rotunda in Washington, D.C. And last year, they very successfully took this event online as a Twitter event, and I think we'll probably see something similar this year. Those applications should open pretty soon. Um, we encourage students to participate in professional conferences and submit work to journals, and we like to know when they're successful in that because that helps us track the sort of trajectory of undergraduate research from the initial engagement right through the sort of moment of dissemination. We also have our own undergraduate research journal called Curiosity, which was actually started by my student assistant, Amelia Ashby, last year. Um, and you can see here some of the sort of parameters for that. Again, you notice that mentors are closely involved in this. Basically, instead of forming a complex system for editorial review, we're asking mentors to approve the work before it gets digitally published. And we feel that that sort of level of review is really more appropriate to the undergraduate researchers and to the range of disciplines that are represented in our journal. So that's my presentation, and here is our contact information. This PowerPoint will be available to you by request and hopefully on our website. And I hope that you will get in touch with us and ask any questions specific to your research program. Thanks for your attention.